Hello and welcome to another episode of What Travis Says. My name is Travis. Let's talk about Doctor Who. More specifically, let's talk about the episode The Lie of the Land. Now, I feel like it goes without saying, but if you've not watched The Lie of the Land yet, don't watch this video. There will be a lot of spoilers. The Lie of the Land was the third and final episode in the Season 10 Monk Trilogy, and I wasn't really a fan. To recap my opinions on the previous episodes, Extremis was meh. Pyramid at the End of the World was whoa, and this episode, The Lie of the Land, was so promising. But first, let me talk about what I did like in the episode. The acting was solid. It was really nice to see Bill come into her own, being a companion, running around getting stuff done. Bill is sure that she is remembering things correctly, but no one else seems to have any memory of what happened before the monks showed up. Instead of Bill's usual attitude of being plucky and curious, she spends most of this episode being confused and angry and frightened and scared. There is some real emotion behind Pearl Mackey's performance, and I've loved Bill from the get-go, and in my eyes, she's only getting better. The doctor's speech to Bill was great. He almost had me believing that he was with the monks. The narration style was a change of pace, the way that the story was being told, but the story of this episode is really what I wasn't exactly a fan of. After Pyramid, I felt the only way to make this story arc well-rounded and logical was to introduce some sort of simulation in this episode. Like I said last week, about 90% of Extremis happened inside of a simulation, so it essentially didn't really matter that much. We got the Missy Doctor storyline, and Simulation Doctor warned IRL Doctor about the invasion, but that's about it. And after Lie of the Land, it's vague if the Doctor even needed the information from the Simulation Doctor because he didn't know how to defeat the monks anyway. I mean, it's not like the Doctor used the information from Simulation Doctor to even find the monks. They just appeared out of nowhere, and they wanted to make a deal. And the Doctor still ended up having to go to Missy for help on how to defeat them, but I'll talk about that in a bit. To me, I feel like Lie of the Land should have had some full-on simulation as a plot device. There was the whole modified human consciousness that the monks have been here forever, blah blah blah, but that's not exactly the same. Either the Doctor using a simulation to trick the monks into thinking that the invasion worked, or the monks using a simulation doctor to help convince the rest of the world. That's all I wanted. I wanted a nice solid story arc connecting all three of the episodes in a cohesive, logical, sensible way. And also, this whole time, this whole season, I wanted there to be some twist with the vault. I wanted it to be unpredictable in some way. Up to the point of the Doctor actually opening up the vault to find Missy. I thought, please don't be Missy. Be anyone else but Missy. Be the Master, or just anybody but Missy. Every arrow has pointed at Missy being in the vault since the beginning of the season, and I wanted the Doctor to open up the vault and be surprised, knowing that he's going in there to find Missy, but have some sort of twist where Missy isn't actually in there, that she's escaped, or that somebody else is in her place, just something. Now, I am a fan of Missy. I loved Michelle Gomez's portrayal in this episode. The dialogue was great, but essentially, that's all it was dialogue. She doesn't come help, she doesn't escape, nothing really happens. She just tells the Doctor how to defeat the monks the one way that we all know he will never do. And after all of that happens, there is very little time to solve this 2.5-hour threat that has been building up for 3 episodes, and in the end the system ends up being too much for the mind of the Doctor, but not a problem for Bill and her invisible mom. The monks went through the entirety of human history, molding it however they felt, making their influence known, only to be defeated by a fake memory. And there they go, flying off in their pyramid. That's it. Underwhelming. There was so much foreshadowing to Bill meeting some untimely demise. Her deal of consent with the monks, the possibility of her going brain dead after plugging into the monks' system, Missy even telling the Doctor that his +1 does not get a happy ending. But nope, at the end of the episode, Bill is fine. She's peachy keen, unless that was all foreshadowing to the end of Season 10. Don't get me wrong, I don't want Bill to die, but the plot obviously holds more weight if there are actual consequences. Even Nardal, who was laying on the floor of the TARDIS at the end of last week's episode, he just shows up in this episode and he's like, I almost died. Is it just me, or is that kind of lazy storytelling? And speaking of consequences, ooh-wee, that fake regeneration. If the Doctor is able to leak regeneration energy willy-nilly, why wasn't he able to just fix his eyesight? And Bill doesn't even really know about regeneration, so what's the point of the light show? He could have just laid himself out. Speaking of laying himself out, are we not going to talk about the fact that Bill shot the Doctor? I mean, sure, she thought that he was with the monks, and she shot him because of that. Turns out it was all a test to make sure that Bill wasn't with the monks, but Bill shot the Doctor with the intent to kill him. there has to be some sort of psychological impact from that, right? This was the biggest story arc of the season, and I had such high hopes, but for me, it ended in a pretty unsatisfactory way. Maybe this isn't the last we've seen of the monks. We know that we don't exactly know what their actual true form is, so maybe they'll show back up again, or maybe somebody was pulling the strings wanting to get the Earth invaded. One thing I will say, the end with Missy's tears about her actually being sad about things that she's done, that's very curious. I mean, there has to be some plan, right? She's just putting this on. She can't just be sad, right? All in all, I don't think that this story arc needed 3 full episodes. There was a lot of build-up and not a lot of payoff, especially considering that we're only getting just a couple more episodes of Capaldi as the Doctor. But what if, instead of the episode that we got, the Doctor ended up being on the side of the monks throughout the entire episode, and it was Bill and Nardole versus the Doctor? Yeah, the more I think about it, that would have been great, but maybe I'll save that as a topic for tomorrow's video. There are 4 more episodes in season 10, so I guess we're gonna have to see where the show goes from here, and how Moffat will give the show his own little sign-off. In the comments down below, let me know your thoughts and opinions on Lie of the Land. Did you love it? Did you hate it? Do you agree with everything that I said? Do you disagree with everything that I said? Let's have a conversation about it. As always, my name is Travis. Thank you for listening to what I have to say, and you will see me tomorrow.